tribute to Clifford Brown. Brownie speaks, and two performers. One of them is on the other end of this line here. Chuck Findlay, trumpet, flugelhorn, and trombone on this date with Bobby Shew, trumpet, flugelhorn, and his famous shoehorn in these sessions. And some great chases here on Brownie Speaks, a composition by Clifford Brown, whose style and contributions we celebrate in the month of October. And helping to celebrate, Bobby Shew. Bobby, good evening. How are you?
Fine, Leigh. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Bobby Shew, for all of you listening, is appearing on stage at the Artist Quarter, and he'll be on stand in about 7 minutes or so. I'm so glad that I'm able to corner you at this moment.
No, I'm flattered, man. Really.
Well, that was a fantastic essay on Brownie, Clifford Brown. What were your observations of his trumpet style and of his contributions?
Well, that's a big question, actually. Well, he was one of the great technicians, first of all. I've actually gotten quite a perhaps interesting close look at Brownie over the past 10 years or so because of the fact that I've gotten to know his wife, his widow, rather, quite well, you know. She lives in Los Angeles, and I've gone over to the house quite a number of times and had an opportunity for her to pull out all of the scrapbooks and things of that sort and really look through things and boxes of sheet music, tunes that were partially finished, you know, by him. And really asking her a lot of questions. I've got about 9 full cassettes of tapes of Clifford Brown sitting home practicing. You know, that were just, he used to just tape himself when he'd sit in the living room with a mute in, you know. So I've got quite an awful lot of material that I've sat and listened quite closely to. Interestingly, he was a brilliant mathematician. It showed up in his playing, you know. He figured everything out well ahead of time. And he knew exactly where he was going. He was one of the most amazing technicians of all time and had the uncanny ability to make it all swing. You know, too often when people get too mechanical with what they learn, they don't really, you know, cook, so to speak, you know. But I felt that Clifford was really a very, very important player. I had actually, to be honest with you, I had others that were I favored more than Clifford when I was a kid, such as Kenny Dorham and, well, Dizzy and people like that, you know. But I always loved listening to Clifford. I think he overwhelmed every one of us that listened to him play with the way he got around on the horn.
We appreciate those observations. For this month of October, we follow the trumpet work of not only Clifford Brown, but also Dizzy Gillespie, who just gave his angular trumpet to the Smithsonian. And
really?
Bobby Shew, I must say that having you as an observer, as a master of trumpet, flugelhorn, and shoehorn, and some approaches to teaching and stimulating students to learn as observer and commentator is a privilege.
Well, thank you very much. It's a privilege to know you as well.
Thank you. We'll stop buttering each other up here for a moment and sort of focus in on Dizzy Gillespie. Dizzy, of course, has been on the scene, and everyone knows that he's one of the great clowns of all time, but one of the truly intelligent musicians, a man who would dare to, say, take the valves out of the trumpet and reverse them, just so that you'd be confounded when you rose to take a solo, and things like that.
Yeah, he's famous for that.
Yes, indeed. Is there any comparison between Clifford and Dizzy that you'd care to draw, or are there no parallels?
Well, not really a parallel. I mean, I think anytime I feel when I get into comparisons of players, it's oftentimes it's difficult.
Dangerous ground.
I just feel like I'm really, you know, talking senselessly because each artist really stands on his own 2 feet and has his own style and has his own point of view and everything, and I think that's the real key in the art form anyway. Dizzy certainly was and still is an extremely unique player, but when he was really in his heyday, he had some of the most amazing power and control of the instrument. And plus, the thing about both of those players, if there's a comparison, both of them are quite good keyboard players. Dizzy has played tracks here and there on record where he played piano, and if you catch him in concert once in a while, he'll sit down at the piano and does a quite good job. And Clifford as well, on the tapes that I have of him practicing, a lot of the tapes are him practicing piano, and a lot of them are of him practicing trumpet. So he was extremely well versed in both. I think any jazz musician that can get to the keyboard and learn something about keyboard harmony, not necessarily to play the Hannon and Cherney books, pianistically, but to be able to understand the harmonic sounds produced by the piano, I think that really helps. I try to get to it as much as I can. I'm not in the class of a piano player as Clifford nor Dizzy, but I'm working on it, and I certainly demand of my students that they get to the keyboard and learn some things. And there's a bit of a parallel between the two guys, but Dizzy's thing was not only in his clowning, but I think his whole personality was much more extroverted, and I think it showed in his playing. Clifford was a quiet, gentle, intellectual type of a person, and that showed in his playing as well. Dizzy, had those incredibly good chops, could blister out high notes, and had the power to go all night long and things of that sort, And Dizzy is still one of my favorites and a very dear friend, and I still try to see him as frequently as I possibly can, wherever I am on the road or whatever. And he's a major source of inspiration, I think, still to all of us, and not only that he's still doing it at 68 or so years old, I guess he's going to be 69 Tuesday, isn't he?
That's right, October 21st.
And, the thing about the guy is that when you stop and look at all of the years he's been on the road, and, my travel schedule at about 25 or 6 days a month is sometimes exhausting just to look at the book and see where I'm going. People oftentimes are sorry they ask me where I'm going. And when I tell them, they can't believe it. And then I say, well, you should see Dizzy's book, because this guy will be in Greece one day and San Diego the next day and Boston the next day and Jakarta 2 days later or something like that. The guy's ridiculous how much he travels. And
he doesn't travel light, I know that.
No, I know he doesn't travel light.
He has an amazingly large trunk.
His suitcase, I tell you what, I've taken him to the airport a number of times and tried to carry some of those bags of his. I don't know what he's doing, smuggling concrete blocks or something in there. I don't know, but he has a huge suitcase, and all of the cases that he carries, and a jingle stick, and all of this and that, and his hats, and the whole bit. But I'm still in awe of the guy, how much he can still maintain an unbearable travel schedule after all of these years. Still get out there, have fun, goes on the bandstand and dances and talks to the people and plays and does the whole thing. And each time in a new unit of time when he plays, he really goes on the stage and does it 100% every night. I really dig that aspect of the man. He's inspiring to me. I've been doing this for a number of years, and I sometimes get tired, and I think, each time I'm tired, I stop and look at Dizzy, and I say, oh, okay, pull up my bootstraps and get back in there again, because he's a tough old son of a gun,
He certainly is.
He really hangs in there.
Bobby Shew, I know that you have one more set to go on stage.
Same, really. It's been, the gig here goes much too quickly, to be honest with you. I really enjoy working the club, and people here at the club are wonderful to work for, and the crowds in this town, I must tell you, in all honesty, they're so gracious. The people really come in the club to listen, and they really get involved in the music, and they're very warm-feeling people to play to. It's really a wonderful place to play, and I look forward to each trip coming in here. And it's always the same when you get to the last set. I feel like we're just getting going. I'd like to do another week or something, but not possible.
We'll look for you the next time.
Well,
thank you ever so much for talking with us and giving us your observations of Clifford Brown and Dizzy Gillespie. And in fact, right now, Bobby, as you move on stand, you and your West Coast friends will send out a salute to Dizzy Gillespie via that anthem of 52nd Street and Minton's, A Night in Tunisia.
Oh, great. You have that record, huh?
It is going to float right back to you now as you move on stand.
Great. Thanks, Leigh.
Good night, Bobby Shew. Good to talk with you. Keep well.
Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye.